Welcome to Braveheart Business Growth, where we champion and equip freedom and faith-minded business leaders to fuel growth so they can make a measurable difference in their community and world. I'm Amy Alexander. I'm the Focus Czar of Growth Strategists.
Hi, I'm David Mills. I'm the mad scientist of growth strategists. And I was doing my parade wave. Since I am not in the Santa elf float this year, I just thought I would do it here.
It's cute.
We all assume he was in the previous ones. So I'm Chad Alexander. I'm the chaos theorist of growth strategists. We'll, in an upcoming episode, uncover what all these names mean for each individual person.
And the interesting thing is we have a focus czar alongside of a mad scientist and a chaos theorist. So there's no wonder that we need a focus czar, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Tell me about it.
Exactly.
All right, today we are in part 3 of our Recession-Ready series. We're talking about competitive advantage, i.e., what makes you different and helps you gain an edge on the competition. This can be extremely challenging to nail. So today we want to talk about the major pitfalls most people run into when they're defining their differentiator, why it even matters that you nail this in an upcoming recession or current recession, and a couple ways to get started in the process.
Whatever flavor of the week they define it as.
Question mark? Okay. I feel really passionately about competitive advantage because it's extremely elusive. And I think once we discovered some of the nuances of it, it made me feel like it was such an aha moment. It's like, oh my gosh, I finally understand why so many people think they have a competitive advantage, but they don't. I now know how to articulate them really well. It is a really in-depth, detailed, very personal process. We have a great process for it. So because it's such a detailed, personal process, it's not something we can just sort of disseminate over a podcast to you. It is a process that we have to take you through. But nonetheless, we wanted to find a way to provide value and give you information that we can in today's episode. But unfortunately, you're not going to leave this episode going, oh, that's the 1, 2, 3 of figuring out exactly how to articulate why I'm different. No, that's not going to happen today. But you're definitely going to be closer than you were before. And that's all we can ask for, right?
So you're saying that they're going to become more differenter as a result of this podcast? More different.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, they can think different.
Jinx, show me a Coke.
What's that from, guys? What's Think Different from?
Apple,
Yes,
1984.
I was actually
like
asking
Apple.
the audience, but
Or as the minions say, bubble, bubble.
when someone asks you, the business owner, how you're different, I suspect your answer sounds something like, after 30 years in business, we have the most experienced staff. We have a 5-star rated customer service rating. Not to mention, we provide more value at a better price. And quite simply, we're better. Our service is better and we're the best. Does that sound familiar to you? Anyone? Is that what you always hear from people?
I see this claim on like literally every website I look at, right? Everyone says we're better. Our customer service is better. Our employees are more experienced, and many of them say we have better products as well. So they will also add that. Or we have some kind of secret special sauce service, maybe.
So I have 2 stories to illustrate this with. There's 2 intersections in our city that have these Christmas light. What are those like little?
They're like little signs that people put in the
Little
ground.
signs, yeah.
You know, like you see like we renovate basements and they'll have a number on there.
Anyway, so the first one says, we put up Christmas lights. Then there's one right next to it in a different color that says, we put up Christmas lights better. And then there is a third sign to the right of that one in a different color that says, we put Christmas lights up best. It is so funny. And literally, I had Chad pull to the side of the road so I could take a picture because it illustrated this point that I try to explain to people year after year so well. I couldn't believe it was happening in real life. I was so excited.
Well,
It's
the other
hilarious,
thing
okay?
that people do, Amy, is instead of saying they're better, what they say is we're cheaper. So,
Yeah.
lower cost, lowest cost, the lowest cost, lowest
Yeah.
cost conceivable to mankind, free, right? So that's the other thing people do. And so they either try and one up the other with being better in service or experience, or they run to the very bottom of the market and become the cheapest possible disposable commodity that they can be.
Absolutely.
Mm.
So my other example is I wanted to make sure today we included some kind of value proposition, template or formula. Like I said, it's going to be not as good, frankly, as what we do, but it at least will get you guys started. So anyway, when I was Googling this value prop template, I came across a bunch of articles. A lot of people have written articles on, here are 5 amazing value propositions. This one's called 5 winning unique value proposition examples. I was expecting great value propositions. What I got was very sad for me. One of them was Bombas socks, the most comfortable socks in the history of feet. I'm sorry. That doesn't really fit the bill as far as a value proposition. The next one I got was focus on quality. Okay, nope. That's not a value proposition. It's literally what everyone else says. Everyone says they have a quality product.
So better comfort, better quality so far, right?
Better quality. And the last one I got was the best men's subscription box. Nope. Again, not a value proposition. But it just goes to show you, these are big brands. These are big brands. These are the big guys. And they are using best, better, super relative, very subjective language to articulate how they're supposedly where you should spend your money. And so it just shows you how hard this really can be. The fact that you haven't nailed it yet is totally okay, because it is very challenging. And we were there for many years.
Since everything has better, best, or bestest on it, then everything has to have it, or else it doesn't meet the standard. So it's like check the box. Oh, it's better. It's improved. It's best, right? So it's become a meaningless term. Most experienced staff, most experienced realtors, most experienced, you name it, right? Now, if it's a doctor, we do want to know about experience. That would be important to know. This is their first brain surgery ever, would not be what you put on the ad, but it's become a throwaway now. Better, best, has become a throwaway. Just stick it on there, because if you don't put it on there, people will think you aren't the better or best, and they'll buy one that says, I don't think so, right? It's like a decoration.
Yeah.
It's like a dollar sign.
Yeah. Well, the reality is that it's turned into the kind of language that's meaningless. The word better now means nothing. The word experience means nothing. Value means nothing. Customer service, it all means nothing, because if everyone says it, it's like, if everything's bold, nothing's bold. If everything's italicized, nothing's italicized. So it's become more important than ever that the way you articulate how you're different is in and of itself different. And that is actually one of the first challenges we run into with our clients, I think, is when we're talking to them, they might say, oh, we have a family atmosphere. And then they will give you 5 examples of how that's actually true and how they're super intentionally creating a family culture. But you can't say on their website, family culture, because it's another one of those terms that's totally meaningless.
Taking away all the good stuff. They're wrecking it. By the way, cheapest is a differentiator. But it's only a differentiator as long as you actually are the cheapest. And as soon as someone finds a cheaper way to get the cheap thing you're selling, then you're no longer going to be the cheapest, and you're going to get priced out of the market, right? So it's a very risky differentiator.
We did address this in our last podcast, but nobody wants to play in the price competitive pond. It's not fun. You get low quality people, and then when you go back to realizing you didn't want to charge less for your expensive service, then you have all these people you don't really want to carry along with you. So it's just a bad plan anyway. But guys, let's list kind of our no differentiator terms. First one, we've said it a lot. It's best or better. Best or better. Those are not terms that help you differentiate. What else we got?
I would say most experienced would be another one of those we just cannot use. And you've already said also, Amy, family atmosphere, family culture. Can't say that.
Quality. Can't say quality.
Quality
I
as a
think-
differentiator. Yep.
I think greatest value or best value, the word value is extremely subjective. What does that mean? It means what does it mean? I don't know, right? It means that you're going to get a bigger car, more metal in the car with thicker tires, even though it's the same brand. I don't think so, right? It's kind of meaningless.
Yeah.
Unless you have some way of proving that you're offering value. So we get into this whole value thing. We want to do value add and we have greater value. It's a shame, Amy, because in some industries, the customer service is actually a differentiator because large swaths of industries have no customer service, literally. And so having really good customer service is really a good differentiator. The problem is you can't say that. So you have to find a different way to say it. Otherwise, it's not a differentiator. It's just what everyone claims to have. Everyone says they have the best customer service.
I looked up Microsoft's 365's value prop. It's the freedom to build, manage, and deploy applications on a massive global network using your favorite tools and frameworks.
Whoa.
Good, bad, indifferent.
There's no better or best in there. It's the freedom to build.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I mean, it's long, but in the world of value proposition, it's
Gets
not
the job
marketing
done.
messaging. Let's say that, right? I think that's the other thing is that often people assume that if they're going to build a value prop, they're also building their one-liner marketing message, which is not always true. You need to build a value proposition that encompasses how you're truly different so that from that you can build great marketing messaging. And sometimes you'll be able to come up with a great one-liner as your value prop, but often it's going to be a little bit bulky and then you can message out of it.
Here's a way for you to figure out what not to say, Amy. So I call this kind of the industry standard template. So just go and Google what you do online. Look at the first 5 websites that come up. Write down the things that they say are their differentiators. All of those things that they say you can't use. And for many industries, kind of the way websites are built is it just kind of rinse and repeat, right? Oh, go find what everyone else has done and copy it. And so you'll find whole industries in which the claims are nearly identical, one after the other. So all of those terms, I'm sorry, they've been wrecked by the people who are in your industry, and they're all saying things that have become, meaningless, completely meaningless. So if it doesn't mean something, it's not different, you just can't use it.
Do you guys want to hear Apple's value proposition? This is just Apple itself. It's to create a smooth experience as long as you are within Apple's ecosystem.
Woo.
Is there value
sucks.
You're
props?
with us or you're nothing.
That one sucks.
I'm not sure that's their value proposition.
Hey, Apple, why don't you fix your lightning chargers for crying out loud? Stop trying to think different and do something that actually works for crying out loud. Goodness. I have to wirelessly charge this all the time. Anyways, rant over.
One that works really well as just marketing messaging is from Unbounce, which is like one of the leading landing page builders. And there's this build, publish, and A/B test landing pages without IT. And that's not truly a full value proposition, but it works well enough and it's short.
Real quick, here's Google's. It's a free search engine for billions of users around the world. Thank you, Captain Obvious. I had no idea. So when somebody says they want to Google something, I didn't know what that meant. I'm like, whoa. Anyways, sorry, guys.
I'll quickly make the point that we're not saying you can't talk about your customer service, talk about your value, talk about all your great experience. Those can be good things. I mean, we certainly have clients who have experience to brag about. It truly is part of the icing on top. It's an important part of how they sell themselves. But talking about some of those things and letting those things be what makes you different are very different, without using that word a million times. So what we're saying is You have to
Different.
find a way to articulate how you're different that does not include some of these other add-ons and important elements that make you good at what you do, right? Or that create a good product. Just because you create a good product and you have a lot of reasons about why that is, doesn't mean that's truly how you're delivering differently. So, why is this important, Dave, right now? Why even?
It's important for a lot of reasons. So I think that, by the way, with what we just said, a lot of people that thought they had a differentiation statement or a value proposition just discovered that they actually don't. What they have is they have a undifferentiation proposition, right? They have a sameness statement. We're just like everyone else. So that may be a shock to your system. If it is, we're sorry. We apologize. It's important right now for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that just having poor differentiation, not standing out, is actually a huge problem. It's a huge problem because it creates all kinds of extra costs for you. Your ads are more expensive because they don't stick. People can't remember them. There's a sandwich shop that we go to down the street, and they have pretty good sandwiches. They have gluten-free bread. We can order online and pick it up. It's nice and convenient. But for the life of us, we cannot remember the name of the place, right? So there's a problem with the way they're expressing themselves because we can't remember them. Their branding is not tied to anything unique. It's just it's the sandwich shop down the street. And so being the sandwich shop down the street, it means that your ads are going to cost more because no one's going to remember anything about you. The second thing is that you're making it harder for your customers and your partners to refer to you because you're not very unique, you're not very special. And so there's nothing that carries over in the referral. When they go look you up, they go, what was that place? What did they do? Why are they so unique? Also, people just don't remember. They don't remember who you are. And then the third thing is, it just slows down word of mouth. So lack of differentiation actually is very expensive and it really retards growth. It is a drag on growth. And so those are kind of the generic reasons. But the next thing that happens then is we come into a season in which there's big shifts in the market. Like we are looking at right now, we just come out of one for the last few years. We're looking at another one in terms of economic cycle shift. And so when we have big market shifts, it can cause real changes to whether or not you're actually differentiated any longer, even if you used to be. And so I think that's what we're looking at to some degree, is that the market's changing, customers are changing, and so differentiation may no longer actually fit. I would call this two kinds of loss in your differentiation. One would be erosion, and the other one would be erasure. Okay? Erosion is when what makes you different slowly gets eaten away by changes. Your competitors figure out something that you've been doing. They start doing it. You've been making a claim. They figured out how they could either make it for real or just say it anyway. They begin to add the same things they have to their digital brush in their website. So that's erosion. You're slowly, your audience gets used to what you have. It's no longer special. And then erasure is when someone comes in the market and they're disrupting you and they're making you irrelevant. The thing you had is irrelevant. This happens a lot in technology with digital disruption, but it also happens in other fields as well. And when things become irrelevant and you literally your differentiator gets erased. If you're playing in the price, lowest price differentiator, that's a great place to get erased overnight. Someone just comes in with a cheaper product. But it happens to other people too. So if you face this erosion or this erasure or this market shift, you actually have to reposition. If you don't reposition, then what made you special no longer is helping you any longer.
I like to think of value propositions as packaging. Packaging is actually extremely important and effective. When you are in the retail space, when you're walking through Walmart or Target or wherever, the way something's packaged will affect the way that you buy. If you see something new on the aisle that you haven't seen before, that's packaged in a way that's so good for you, that, like for me, I love a good modern, simple packaging with bold colors. I'm going to be drawn to it immediately. I want to know what it is. I might choose it over something I used to buy simply because of the packaging. But the other thing is, I really believe people can tell how well you know yourself as far as a company. If they go to your website, there's a lot about branding and packaging that cues to people that you are extremely, for lack of a better term, self-realized. Like, as humans, you can kind of tell when someone's self-realized. It's about the way they talk and how confident they are. And I think businesses are the same way. So when you have a really strong value proposition, people are better at attaching themselves to your brand and understanding who you are when you are articulating in a very concise, clear way your differentiator. So few brands can do it. But it really cues a lot to people, more than I think we realize. I mean, if I'm going to go buy a subscription box for Chad for Christmas, being the best subscription box for men is doing absolutely nothing for me in my buying decision. But being the box for nerdy retro gamers is telling me a lot more, right? So it's, I think they're powerful.
Thanks for that clarification, Amy. I really appreciate that. That I'm not a man, but a geeky gamer dude. Thanks. Appreciate that. All right.
Just want you to know that I know you.
But it's not, it's too general. That's part of the reason. That's a part of the reason why a lot of these value props fail is it's too general. It's like the best. Well, what does the best mean? What does comfortable socks mean? Like, what if I bought really cheap, comfy socks at Wally World and I'm like, okay, well, that's great. Like, I spent $2 on these and these Bombas are like 15 or whatever. Whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that's not okay. Like, in whose world? Whose world is it the best men's subscription boxes? Like, I don't like subscription boxes. I don't like to have to pay for stuff every month. But anyways, so there you go.
Well, in the Bombas example, one of the fastest ways you can start to determine your value proposition is to make sure that you're speaking to people, right? So being the most comfortable socks in the history of feet is ridiculous. Being the most comfortable socks for the whole family is at least a start. I can identify to some degree that you might have something I need because I'm a mom, So that when we're talking about ways to start, one of the very first things you can do is just try to articulate in as few words as possible who it is you are for.
And don't you think, Amy, when you think about, packaging this differentiator, so, it goes beyond the visual imagery, which definitely communicates something to people, because in the end, the differentiation has to be conceptual. It has to mean something, as you're just saying, to the people that you're trying to sell to, right? So if you had the most comfortable socks for athletes or construction workers or welders or underwater basket weavers, then at least we'd know who it's for. And by the way, how is it more comfortable than all the other cushy socks that are for sale at Kohl's? It's like a silly argument. They're more comfortable than all the other socks. How do you know? Have you tried them all? And I haven't, and I'm not going to, right? I buy the ones at the big box store in a package for six pairs of socks for $19.95. So, it's a commodity really, right? So if you don't differentiate, then you risk this thing of becoming a commodity, and you've got to conceptually package what makes you different in a way that actually means something to your audience, that matters to them. I'm thinking about the Gutter Guard commercials. They have commercials on TV all the time, and they've done a good job of they really haven't told us how they're different than all the other gutter protection products, right? So I don't know anything about their differentiator, but they always tell me, Dad, it's dangerous, or so they've given a meaning to it. It's dangerous to get up there and clean your gutters out, and if you don't, you'll ruin your house, right? So they've attached the emotional element to their brand. They haven't told me how it's any different other than it's super fast for them to put on, which makes me think it might be kind of cheap. They do it in just a day. It looks really easy. So I don't know, so I'm not sure they're totally doing the thing right, but at least they've given something of meaning. and they repeat that, ruin your house and it's dangerous over and over and over again, right? So this differentiation has to connect with these felt needs of your target audience. If
Ooh.
it doesn't, then it's irrelevant, you know? Chaz has something to say, I think. He's making hand signals.
Irrelevant. Speaking of the elephant in the room. So that brought up a good point. There's these companies that are like coffee alternatives. I've seen a lot of advertising for on Facebook and Instagram, which is stupid because I drink coffee all the time. And so I guess they're like, oh, he's a good candidate for it, right? But they first start off with like, caffeine's terrible for you. Coffee's terrible for you. Okay, hold up now. All right. You're already attacking one of my most important routines in the morning to have a cup of coffee. All right. So you're already on dangerous ground here, buddy. But they're like, it tastes so good. It's made out of lion's mane and chaga root and I don't know, random ingredients that like a yogi would be familiar with, but I have no idea what they are. And so I'm like, how, and like all of them are the same. They're like this alternative to coffee. They're supposed to be made out of mushrooms or something, or all these other good for you ingredients. I'm like, and most people, they always ask this, how does it taste? Like, they don't even come out with that. Like, great tasting alternative to coffee will taste just like coffee. No, they don't want you to know that it tastes like crap, probably. Or, it's like, I guess this is decent. Good thing I'm off coffee,
As an example, coffee is one of the oldest commodities on the planet, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you differentiate the thing that's been around for a bazillion years and that like there's roasters coming out of the trees, because now it's computerized. Yeah. You buy the thing, you push the button and the thing does the thing. And then you're a custom coffee roaster. So that's a good example of how it can be hard to differentiate. But if you don't differentiate, how are you going to sell it? Right?
Well, here's the other thing. So if you deep dive into Bombas, you'll discover they actually have some unique technology behind how their socks are built, which makes them longer lasting. And what I want to know is, how come their value proposition isn't the most comfortable, longest lasting socks for your whole family? Because the only reason I even know about Bombas is because they have socks that stay on toddler feet better than anything else, okay? So there's your two differentiators. Stays on infant and toddler feet better than any other, there's a bad one, but, and technology that makes them extremely long lasting. And yet all they have to say is that they're more comfortable, So like, this is a great example. It's a very shallow example of how you do have things that are different about you that you're not talking about, that you have not articulated. And often when we're working through this process with clients, one of two things happen. One is that people go, oh, that's it. It's like they finally have seen in words what makes them different, which is a super fun experience. But the other thing that happens is we have clients say, well, man, you're right. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're doing it just like everyone else. We're the same. We just have to somehow figure out a way to say it differently. I often challenge clients with, well, you just told me 5 things you're doing that no one else in your industry is doing. Why don't you think that makes you different? So for yourselves as business owners, you need to get past a belief system. Job 1, get past the belief system that you aren't doing it differently. Get past the belief system that the only thing that makes you different is that you've been doing it longer or that you care more. There are things you're doing that are different. Sometimes it can take some digging to figure it out, but they're there. So don't discount that. But once you've decided that you are in fact different, it is about articulating how you're different.
I think it's worth, what you said, Amy, is important. And we do push back in our process of doing this. You have to dig for this. You have to. If you don't dig for this, then you are just falling into kind of this template trap of being just like everybody else. And everything you do is going to be more expensive and take longer. And, if you're trying to get investors and you're not differentiated, they aren't coming. They will not invest in something that is totally not differentiated. So I think it's a pretty big deal. And it's worth fighting for. I think, in between COVID and a quote unquote recession or whatever it is, we're sitting here between these like life events for a lot of people. This is a really important time for you to take a look at how you're differentiated. Are you really standing out in a way that's going to work? Is it durable? Is it actually going to last through the next disruption? What about the disruption after this one? And so if you think it's being eroded or erased, then it's time to reposition and it's time to take a look. And, if you want to grow your business in a faster, more efficient way, then why won't you differentiate? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you take the time? And maybe you have to add something to the way you do things. Do you actually want to be the best? You can't say it that way, but is it true? Or you just want to be another, okay provider. So I think that's the decision you have to make. And I think it's worth fighting for.
There is sometimes a misconception that in order to be different, you better innovate. So sometimes our clients for a while are struggling with, well, how do we need to change our product? How are we going to innovate on the entire market? Those are great aspirations, and sometimes people do. I mean, Uber's a great example of that. They said, we're not going to be different. We're not going to be a taxi drivers. We're actually going to create if you've never read Blue Ocean Strategy, the book, you should read it. But it's this concept that you actually can innovate and create new markets for yourself within a market that already exists. So Uber's a good example of that, but you don't have to be Uber to be different. And Dave's right. You might be able to tweak or shift something slightly enough that it creates a differentiator, but you don't necessarily have to do that. And what Dave's referring to isn't a massive innovation on your market. He's referring to those little things like for instance, if you do have a family culture and for some reason that's really important as your differentiator, deciding that you're going to go all in on that and take resources for something that doesn't matter and create an additional 2 more programs on top of your 5 programs that make you a family culture. That's a great way to go all in on your value proposition. You didn't have to innovate. You didn't have to spend new money, but it's just sort of saying, okay, this truly is our differentiator. Let's focus on it. Let's develop it. Let's be all in. And that can make a really big difference too.
I think it'd be worth just taking a minute or two and just refocusing a little bit to talk about differentiation in the nonprofit or the cause area. And so, we've been talking a lot about business differentiation and how it impacts customers, how it impacts your ability to grow. For nonprofits, differentiation is actually a responsibility. And when you think about, if you look at the community strategic plans that are done, the resource assessments, the needs assessments, what they are looking at is what they would call duplicative services. There's a big word for you. And so they want to see if you're doing the exact same thing that someone else is doing. So not only, now sometimes the need is so great that you need 10 people to do something so that all the people can get served. But many times we see these overlapping services. One provider tries to edge out the other one in doing the same thing a little bit better.
Yeah.
But really, when you think about from a donor perspective, they need to be able to tell the difference. Why give to your military veterans charity versus this one? How is it different, right? And so I think that's important. There has to be a recognition in terms of packaging it. You have to be able to talk about your cause in a way that people go, oh, that's really interesting. That's really different. And I can think of a lot of charities that are doing something really unique to solve big social problems in a very powerful way, but they stand out. And I think that's really the question. All of this applies in the same way to nonprofits and charities.
And as an aside, I'm going to piggyback on your thought there, Dave. David Green, in his book, Leadership Not by the Book, he talks about how Hobby Lobby gives a lot of money to charities. And what he does is, as a board, he looks at the charities that are out there and they look to see, they won't give money to charities that are brand new or aren't successful. And his logic is that if the Lord hasn't blessed them, why hasn't he blessed them yet? And so, I thought that was an interesting perspective from the owner of Hobby Lobby.
And of course,
Yeah,
you know,
that is.
the truth of your differentiator will definitely follow you, right? You can put it out there as PR, but it will follow you because, you know, I mean, go online right now and look up reviews on your favorite product or service, and you'll find a ton of reviews that are not positive, right? And so someone put out a brand promise that made them sound very different, but in the end, they didn't actually deliver on it. And so that's also, you know, there has to be integrity in your differentiators. And as lawyers like to say, it has to have the added benefit of also being true. So make sure that you can fill the order on the thing you say you're going to do that's different. And sometimes like these things take time and effort to work them into your culture, to get them into the, as they say in the fabric industry, the warp and woof of your entire team, right? So everybody is really living it out. And that can take some effort. It can take some time. So be aware that you could have a multi-year commitment just on making your differentiator true and making it kind of consistent throughout the customer experience.
I've mentioned a couple of times, when you're developing a true value proposition, something that is going to differentiate you in a major way, that is going to take you into many years ahead and really refocus you. It's best to do that with people. It is best not to do that in the vacuum. So we're not the only ones in the world who help develop differentiators and value propositions. I highly recommend you find a team that does this. And, you know, maybe that has to wait till after a session. Obviously, that there's money involved in that decision, but we believe in it super strongly. It is the key element we use to help companies grow. So if you're really serious about this, go find someone to walk you through the process. However, I did find a really good resource. It's called the Value Proposition Canvas. It is going to get you started. I will link it in the show notes. It is not a substitute for true differentiating power of conversation and working through it, because it's such a personal thing. And if you've never done it before, no canvas will do it for you. But I suspect this will get you to a really good place. It will at least prepare you for maybe determining where your gaps are, or identifying what elements you can't sort out yourself. It might be a really great first step. So I'll link it in the notes. I recommend it. And we hope this was valuable to you. And we hope that you'll stop telling people that you're the best at something or that you're better, because that makes me sad.
You're the best around. Nothing's going to ever keep you down.
Thanks, Chad.
Excuse
That was brilliant.
Pardon me.
That was an outro. That was an outro jingle stolen from some other show.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week.